Hi, everybody, and good morning. Happy Wednesday, February 9th. We are here for my Monday, Wednesday abnormal psych class, and I see lots of you getting logged in and putting your names in the chat, which is fantastic. This is probably our last Twitch live stream that we will have together for a while. I'll talk about that in a little while. But we are scheduled to meet in person on Monday, as you all signed up for. We are going back to in-person learning on Monday. It's official for sure. For now, anyway, you know how everything can change last minute and at any time, of course, as we've learned over these last couple of years. But I will talk a little bit about that later on. What I want to do today, we have kind of a little bit of things to cover. I want to talk a little bit about last week and some feedback from the discussion and that first part of your paper. We'll go over some reminders and announcements for this week, including our first exam. So I want to show you where to take that and give you some tips and all that kind of information. And then we'll talk about our plan for next week for meeting in person. And I'll give you the extra credit and see if you have any questions for me. So kind of a full agenda for us this morning. So let's go ahead and get over to Canvas so we can start tackling some of those things. And if you have any questions or thoughts or comments at any point, of course, as always, feel free to put that in the chat for me and we'll go from there. But we are officially, where's my mouse? There it is, in week number 5, right? So we have passed the 1/4 mark of the semester and we are in week number 5 as of Monday morning. But let's go back to week 4 just for a moment. A couple of comments about last week. We had 2 things due last week that I want to just touch on, the discussion and then the first part of your paper. I'll talk about that when we get there. Justine, if I don't answer it, make sure to remind me. So discussion number 4 last week, you were talking about fears versus phobias. And overall, really nicely done. A lot of you did a fantastic job of kind of highlighting what the difference might look like. And I think I used the example in the lecture, right, of someone who has a fear of flying might not be happy to get on a plane, but they will still get on the airplane. Maybe they need to have like a drink or a little bit of help or something to get them through it, but they will still do it. Versus somebody who has a phobia of flying might not be willing to get on a plane at all. They might miss an important family event because they weren't willing to fly there, or maybe they fly at a great personal cost where they have to get absolutely, altered in order to make it through the flight. So very nicely done on that. A lot of you sharing your phobias and the phobias of people you know. A lot of fears of spiders and snakes and heights, which are really, really common. And then some interesting uncommon ones. So I hope you enjoyed the chance to read each other's posts and see some of those. The biggest part that people lost points on was number 3 here. And a lot of you got full credit and did a beautiful job. Just as you've gotten used to and kind of in touch with what I'm expecting and you're settling into a groove, we're going and starting a new a new set of like assignments and expectations. Isn't that just the way of these last 2 years, right? Just as you're getting comfortable, let's yank it out from underneath your feet and kind of go in a different direction. I'm sorry about that, but we'll make it as smooth of a transition as we can. But as I said, most of you did beautiful. What I wanted was a little bit more from some of you on number 3. Some of you just listed ways that you could treat a phobia, like you said, flooding or systematic desensitization. Oh, excuse me, but you didn't describe it or kind of go into detail. And so if that was the case, you lost a few points. But a lot of you did a beautiful job. Really interesting looking at some of the roots of superstitious thinking and superstitious beliefs. I love too that some of you shared like cultural beliefs or ones that were maybe a little less common. I think that's really unique and fantastic, and I love that you brought that richness into the discussion. So for the most part, really nicely done on discussion number 4. Again, a lot of you getting like 13, 14, 15 points. Don't forget to continue to reply to a classmate. You do still have a discussion this week, so make sure that you're always replying to a classmate or a peer in order to get those 2 points. The other thing that you turned in last week was the first part of the paper, and most of you got full points on this as well. It was a very short assignment where you were giving me the citation information and your character. And most of you did that. You wrote like a paragraph or two about who you were interested in and why. You wrote a little bit about like some thoughts that you had related to the character, and you gave me the citation. If you did all that, you got the full 10 points. A couple of people lost points for not giving me the citation information, so not giving me the name and the source and all that stuff. And a couple of you lost points for it being really short. There were a couple of you who turned in like 2 sentences or 3 sentences just saying, I'm doing this character, and that was it. But most of you got the full 10 points. I want to remind you that you can always change characters at any time. Obviously, the sooner that you commit to your character, the less work it makes for you. But if you decide that you want to switch, you can still totally do that. You don't need to resubmit or anything, but you can still switch characters if you think of someone else that you are maybe more excited about. So those are the comments and stuff on last week. Are there any other questions? I'm going to put that in the chat here. Any questions, comments, thoughts at all about last week before we move on to week number 5? I'll wait just a moment to see if you have anything while you get caught up. Another windy day, another warm day. It's so strange. I'm not enjoying the warmer weather. I'm still in like winter mode. Enough so that like look, I have my like winter is coming Game of Thrones cup. I want winter to be coming still. I still want the rain and the cold weather. It's gonna be like 85 the next like couple of days. That's not what I'm in the mood for at all. But hopefully we'll get a little bit more rain and cooler weather coming. I hope, fingers crossed. All right, not seeing any questions for the moment, so I'm going to move on. But if you think of anything, of course, feel free to put it in the chat. This week, we move on to chapter 5. We're looking at disorders related to stress and trauma, and there are definitely several of them for us to talk about. Order of business number 1, you probably want to read chapter 5 in the textbook like usual. And then I've posted the slides for you along with the lecture video. And then I also have another video that I would like you to watch. The Health Center worked with me to make a mindfulness training video. And I really would like you to watch this. I think it's a wonderful introduction to mindfulness training. They go over some really cool like benefits of this, along with a quick overview of the services. I have a case of the yawns this morning. Geez, quick overview of the services at the Student Health Center. There's also quite a few little mindfulness activities, and you're going to be using these for the discussion this week. And I have them linked down here if you wanted to open up the file. There's an overview of a couple of different techniques that you can do related to mindfulness, and you'll be picking one of these as a part of your discussion for this week. So definitely watch this video, pay attention to it, and find out a little bit more about mindfulness and what it is and how to do it and some of the activities and such that are related to it. And I will share with you, I'll be honest, that when I first was introduced to the concept of mindfulness, right? I go to therapy. I think I shared that with you before. I have no embarrassment or shame in admitting that. I think therapy can help everyone, and I've gone my entire life. It just was something that my parents believed in, and so I think as a 3-month-old, I was like crying and pointing at ink blots, right? So it's just something that's super normal and kind of a regular occurrence for me. And when my therapist this time around that I have introduced the idea of mindfulness to me about 2 years ago, and I know in my heart that I rolled my eyes when she said it. Like in my mind, I've always been like, oh, mindfulness. Yeah, like I know, like be mindful. But I've really learned to appreciate it. And so I hope you kind of get an interesting introduction to it and a chance to practice a couple of things related to it this week. I think it's a really nice way to be present and aware of the things that are going on. And it's definitely a skill that you have to develop. So I hope you enjoy that little presentation. Also, be sure to watch my lecture video. It is just a Zoom link for this one because I have some outside clips in there. Take notes and pay attention. The materials in there will definitely appear on the exam. So a good idea to be taking notes and paying attention to that. The discussion this week, like usual, you have a discussion like you've had every week. Make sure to watch my little introductions video, answer all of my questions, read through a minimum of 5 of your classmates and reply to one of them. This is worth 15 points like always, 13 points for your reaction to my questions, and then 2 points for your response to a peer. And the topics for this week are very much related to stress and then mindfulness, right? A couple of things that we're looking at quite a bit this week. So you're going to complete a stress test, which is right here. Very, very informal, but I think it's an interesting way to start thinking about the stress in your life. You're going to share your reactions and thoughts about your score. How do you cope with your stress? In other words, what are some of the things that you do to cope? Now, these could be both positive or negative in nature. They can be constructive or not so healthy. That's okay. That's totally fine. We're not judging. I'm not judging you at all. We all have our maybe healthier and less healthy ways of coping with stress. Lots of stress in our lives these last couple of years. So what are some of the ways that you cope with your stress? How do you handle stress in your life? Not doing anything is also a coping strategy. So you could write about that if that is the case. Here's the stress test right here. And then you're going to complete one of the mindfulness activities that are linked right here or in the video that you watched from the health center. You're also welcome to find a different one online. If you find one or you have one that you really like to do, that's fine. But you're going to complete one of these mindfulness activities, and then you're going to write about it. How did it go for you? Was it difficult? Was it easy? How did you feel before versus after, during? Kind of give me all your reactions and thoughts and comments. And again, most of these mindfulness activities are like 3 to 5 minutes long, but you're welcome to find a different one, a longer one if you would like, or do more than one of them if you would like. But that is your goal for this week, thinking about stress in your life, how you deal with it, cope with it, and your reactions to your score. And then completing the mindfulness activities and writing about it and thinking about it and so on. Don't forget, so when you're ready to answer that, you'll hit reply. And then when you're ready to reply to a classmate, you can just reply underneath their name. So don't forget to do that and get those 2 points. Again, we've settled into like a 5-week pattern at this point, and we're going to change it up next week. But for this week, we're still on our virtual stuff and following that same format. The other thing that you have this week, you have exam number 1. And so I want to spend some time talking about that, making sure that you feel as comfortable as you can and as ready as you can for that. This exam is completely online, right? 100% online. And I'm going to go over some tips for it, and I'll go over the study guide. But the exam, if you click on exam number 1 under this week, it says at the top here, the exam is worth 100 points. It's 82 questions, right? You have 75 minutes to take it, and it's due by this Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. So let's look at these instructions just in a little bit more detail. As I said, it is 75 minutes to complete the exam, and you only get 1 attempt. So make sure that you're ready and organized before you begin. Okay, so what I mean by that is you want to make sure that you have a quiet place to take the exam, that you have all your notes organized and ready to go, that you have good internet connection, just everything that you can do to set yourself up for success. Once you hit take the quiz, you have started it and you cannot stop it and come back. So 1 attempt, 75 minutes. Make sure that you're organized and ready before you hit start and take the quiz. You can use your notes, your book, you can use anything at your disposal during the exam, but I promise you that you will either run out of time or be very, very short on time if you're trying to look up every answer. And that is a little bit purposeful, right? If you are trying to look up each and every answer and question, and you're trying to understand it and then answer it, you're going to hurt on time. And you only have 75 minutes. So you want to be very mindful, right? Mindfulness, there it comes back again, of that time. So what I would recommend to you is that you study and prepare like you would for a normal in-person test. And I'll talk a little bit about studying and preparing and what that might look like when we look at the study guide. But make sure that you have prepared, that you've reviewed, that you know all the terms on the study guide before you hit begin. Canvas will stop your test when the time is up. So leave yourself enough time, be watching the clock, skip questions if you don't know the answer. You can skip it and come back. If you're not sure, write it down on a piece of paper and come back to it at the end if you have some extra time. And then you'll hit submit quiz when you're completely done and ready to be submitting that to me. Now you will get a score right away the second that you hit submit quiz. It will be everything but the short answer questions. I have to grade the short answer questions manually, so I will be doing that throughout the week as the tests come in. But other than the short answer questions, you will know how you did right off the bat. I know exams cause people a lot of anxiety, myself included, right? Exams are stressful and anxiety inducing. So just make sure that you set yourself up for success with this. I would beg you to do one last thing in order to be successful. Please, please, please do not wait until Sunday night at like 10 o'clock p.m. to take the test. It is like the law of the universe that the moment you wait until the last minute, your internet goes out, your power goes out, your computer crashes, you get sick, there's an emergency, something bad will happen. Like it just always seems to be the case. So please try and set yourself up for success. Take it earlier in the week, take it Friday, Saturday, take it Sunday morning. Plus the Super Bowl is Sunday afternoon and evening, right? You don't want to be taking your exam during the Super Bowl, right? You want to be relaxing and enjoying and eating and, drinking soda, drinking whatever, right? You don't want to be, distracted during that time. So just try and set yourself up for success and take it early if you can, just so that you don't run into problems at the last minute and it's too late to reach out to me for me to help you reset it or deal with those issues. So when you're ready, you'll take the exam right on here. But I want to talk a little bit about preparing for the test and the study guide. So every single week, right, we've been covering different chapters. This exam is on chapters 1 through 5. So if you go back to week number 1, right, it's on chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So everything that we've covered up to this point. And the vast majority of the exam is going to be stuff from the lectures and also then the textbook. Some of it might be from videos that I had you watch, like the mindfulness training, or maybe some of the videos related to like the therapy styles, for example. But the vast majority of it is from lecture and also from the textbook. These lecture videos that I make for you, the slides, and then the book. So once I make the exam, I then go through and make a study guide. So let's open that and look at it together. So the study guide is basically all of the terms that you need to know. It's the test without the questions, right? It's every term and concept that you need to know for the exam. So if it is on here, it will be on the test. If it's not on here, you don't need to study it. You don't need to worry about it. It won't show up on the exam. So make sure when you're preparing that you know all of these terms from chapter 1, all of these from 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right? So if it's on here, be familiar with it. You might consider making flashcards or using something like Quizlet. If it were me, and this is totally up to you, this is just a suggestion. I am kind of a perfectionist, and I've always been a straight A student who maybe works a little too hard. As a side note, I would never recommend the pressure of not getting a B. I wish so badly I could go back and like first semester in college, just get a B and get it over with. I never got anything less than an A all the way through graduate school, and it was too much pressure. By the time I hit graduate school, I was like, well, I can't get a B now, right? I understand what it's like to put pressure on yourself. If it were me as that kind of student, I would go through and type out every term that is on the study guide. Every single term or concept that's on here, I would type it, I'd print it out, and it would be in front of me during the exam. That way I know that like if I reach, let's say the 5 Ds of abnormality and I can't remember them, I don't have to scramble and try and look through the textbook or look back through the lecture videos and waste that valuable test time. I can just look at my notes that are right here organized chapter by chapter, and I can find that term and help myself out. So it's up to you, but I would over prepare for the first exam because you don't know what to expect if you've never taken a test with me. And you don't want to have that moment where you're like, I should have done more and I'm not ready. And it just causes more anxiety as you're taking the test. So over prepare. If you write these out or type these out, have it in front of you, then you have every bit of information you could ever possibly need to be successful. Again, if you're trying to understand and then find these concepts and terms, you're going to hurt on time. So just set yourself up for success. The exam is mainly multiple choice and true false. There are a few short answer questions, and you'll get better at picking these out. Like, for example, the 5 Ds of abnormality is a short answer question. You're never going to be writing essays. For me, it's almost always going to be listing something or comparing two things. 3 structures of personality, right? These are often going to be things that are lists of 3 or 4 or 5, and you're going to be listing them, and then I will be grading them after you submit your exam. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I will never ever trick you on a test. I promise you that if you read a question and it feels like a trick, it's not. So just reread it. Hopefully, maybe you just read it too quickly because you were feeling anxious about your time. But I write all of my own questions. I write the entire exam myself. And so everything is stuff that we've covered. There's nothing random. I want you all to do so well. It would make me so happy if every single one of you got an A. But you do need to study and prepare for that to happen. So just know that I will never trick you. If you've been reading and following along and you know everything on here, you're going to do fantastic. People tend to do really well. I think they're very straightforward. And 75 minutes is more than enough time. Most of the time, people finish in about 60 to 62 minutes. So it should be plenty of time for you as long as you have studied and prepared. Okay, and I think that's everything I want to say about the exam. Are there any other questions about the test? Anything else that I can go over in terms of the exam for you to make you feel better about that first test that we have this week? I still have some announcements and things to talk about, but anything else about the exam? Oh, wait just a minute. And obviously, if you think of any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or if you think of it later, you can always email me. But I am here live with you now, and you could always answer or ask of me now so I can answer it live. So while I'm waiting, I'm going to give you some reminders and talk a little bit about next week. So reminder number 1, and I will remind you of this every week that we are meeting on here. Please take a moment to check your Twitch subscription status. A ton of you fell off this week. So remember that the subscription is only good for 30 days, and we have passed the 1 month mark. So if you notice that you no longer have the football cake next to your name, please make sure you go back into Twitch and find my channel, click on that purple drop-down menu, and resubscribe again for the next 30 days. Even though we are going in person next week, I might still use Twitch, and we could always end up back virtual at any time if there's a bad variant again. So please don't fall off of your Twitch subscription, because there's an excellent chance that we use it again in the future. So if you could double check that today, that would be fantastic. Again, a lot of you did fall off over the week. And if you never did it, you can always still subscribe, since we will probably use it throughout the semester. I'll talk about that when we meet in person, and we can kind of talk about that a little bit together. But I will likely talk about that on Monday as we go over, how we're going to approach the rest of the semester. And so that is the other thing I want to spend a few moments talking about. Our class, and I'm going to put this in the chat, our class is scheduled to meet on Monday, Wednesday from 10 o'clock to 11:15. Okay, so our class is scheduled 10 o'clock to 11:15 Monday and Wednesday in HSS 206. Okay, so that's what you all signed up for, an in-person Monday, Wednesday, 10 to 11:15 class. And we are going back on Monday. Okay, so Monday morning at 10 o'clock, we will be meeting for the first time in HSS 206. Now, I can't see you right now, so I don't know how you feel about that. I will imagine that maybe quite a few of you are nervous or anxious about it. And I will imagine as well that some of you are probably excited. You signed up for an in-person class. We've been online, and so hopefully you're feeling excited that we are going back. I shared this with you before. I am definitely nervous about it. Next month, it will have been 2 years since I taught a class in person. 2 years since I stood in front of a group of people and taught in person. And I imagine a lot of you have not set foot in a classroom in the same amount of time. So if you're nervous, it's okay. We will get through it together. My plan on Monday is that we will go over kind of our organization and structure of the class in person. We'll get to know each other a little bit. We can talk and chat about how I'm going to approach the class moving forward. And you can ask any questions that you have. My plan on Monday is that our class will be shorter than the full time. Okay, we're going to ease into it. We will meet up. We will get it over with and conquer that fear together. And then on Wednesday, kind of jump in a little bit more. So that is my plan for Monday. We will meet and go over some syllabus changes, some different things that the class will cover now that we'll be in person, and just get that over with and meet each other. I'll probably have you all introduce yourselves really quickly or something just so I can put names together, and that will be our plan for Monday. A few other things, and hopefully this will get to your question here, Justine, as well. There are some things that you need to remember to do. Please leave yourself some extra time on Monday. If you've never done this before, you got to leave yourself a little bit of extra time. You need to remember, I'm going to put these in the chat, to wear a mask. Okay, you have to wear a mask in the classroom. On the 15th, the mask mandate is going to be removed for some of the indoor spaces in California. That does not include education. Okay, so you need to, for now, it's still going to be a mandate for the classroom. You need to wear a mask regardless of your vaccination status in the classroom. And it needs to be worn properly over your nose and everything. If you aren't wearing a mask or aren't wearing it properly, I have to ask you to leave the room. So please make sure you bring a mask with you and that you are wearing it properly at all times throughout our class. I will be wearing a mask too and trying to teach with it on. So I know it's important, it's not always comfortable, but you need to wear your mask. The other thing, you need to do the app screening. Okay, so the My VCCCD app, you need to fill out the screening form before you arrive to campus, and then you need to do a campus check-in. There is a station that's right over by the Performing Arts building, right across from the HSS building that we're meeting in. So you need to go over there. You'll show them the app screening that you had. You'll do that campus check-in and get a bracelet for that day. If you show up without a bracelet, I will send you out. If you show up without a mask, I will send you out. So please just do those things. Follow the protocols that we all have to do. I know it's a pain and I know it's different and it takes time. But make sure that you bring a mask, that you do the app screening, download the app, and you'll do the screening before you arrive to campus. And then you'll check in at one of the check-in stations and get a bracelet, and then you are clear to go to class. So just, again, leave yourself a little bit of time. It's important that you have some time for yourself to get all those things done. As I said, we will be meeting in the HSS building, room 206. It is upstairs on the corner. So it is on the upstairs corner of the building. And, you know, the building is numbered a little strange, but it's right there on the top corner of the building. So I will be there. I have a class before ours as well. Again, we will not meet for the entire time on Monday. It will be a little bit shorter. I mean, we'll meet for a chunk of time, right? But it will not be the entire hour and 15 minutes. We will go over some stuff, ease into it, and then call it a day. I think those are all the things I wanted to say about Monday morning. The class will no longer be online. So yes, this somebody asked me this previously. It is mandatory for you to attend. Okay, we will not be doing online stuff anymore. It will be all in person. So if you want to get credit for the class, you will need to show up and attend. And I know that might be a little daunting, but that is how it's going to go. I want to remind you though, if you are sick, if you feel sick, if you have COVID, if you think you have COVID, please do not come to campus. Please do not come to our class and expose everyone. Potentially better to err on the side of caution if you think you might have it. If you meet one of those countless symptoms that we have for it, make sure that you stay home. But you absolutely need to contact me. If you do not email me on the day of the class, I'm going to assume that you just didn't come for whatever reason, and it will be too late for you to make up the materials. If you aren't able to make it because you're sick, email me on the day of the class, and we can work together to talk about alternate assignments and how to potentially get those lecture materials. But if you don't reach out to me, you will not be allowed to make up the materials for that day. So by no means do I want you coming sick. And as long as you reach out to me, we will be able to kind of troubleshoot and brainstorm, and you will be able to do alternate assignments. So just make sure that you're constantly communicating with me if you're sick, or, if, like, for example, there might be a day where my kids have to quarantine and I can't make it. So, just make sure that you're always checking your announcements and communicating with me when things come up. Okay? And again, if you're feeling anxious, it's okay. I promise we will get through it together, and it's probably going to be just fine. And it's just the first day that is always the most anxiety for all of us, right? So trying to think if there's anything else I want to say about that. Are there any questions at all? I do still want to give you the extra credit question, but are there any questions at all about next week, meeting in person, how that's going to go, any of that kind of stuff? I believe that there is hand sanitizer and extra masks in a lot of the classrooms, but don't count on it. So just make sure that you are bringing a mask with you and, again, wearing it properly. Right. While I'm waiting for you, let me grab that Twitch extra credit question so I can give it to you in case you would like to earn those points. If we stop doing Twitch, we won't have these anymore, so definitely take advantage of it while you can. The extra credit question for this week is, what are the two systems that the hypothalamus activates in the stress response? What are the two systems that the hypothalamus activates when we have a stress response? And if you'd like to answer that, you'll head over to Canvas. You'll click on Twitch extra credit number 5, since we're in week number 5. Up at the top, you'll hit Start Assignment like usual. And then it'll bring up that box where you can type your response. Okay? Wow, I cannot spell response. Type your response. At the bottom, you'll hit Submit when you are ready and get the little confetti burst. Anything else in there? Nope, just confetti today. So a confetti burst, 2 points of extra credit. This is due by Sunday night, but you can submit it early. I grade them throughout the week. In case you miss it, I would let you know and you'd be able to try again. But those are the big things to work on for this week. Okay, so a couple of things. Read chapter 5 in the book, review the slides, watch my lecture video and take notes. Don't forget to watch the mindfulness training by the Health Center. Discussion number 5, like usual. And then you have exam number 1, be mindful of your time, prepare, study, be ready to go. Don't wait till the last minute. It is worth 100 points, so take it seriously. The Twitch extra credit question, and then whatever you need to do to start preparing yourself for meeting in person on Monday. I will upload a recording of this within a few hours. I'll start the download upload process when we're done, and I'll have that up for you by tonight. So those are all the things to work on for this week. The extra credit question, again, here, let me put it in the chat. It didn't post for some reason. What are the two systems that the hypothalamus activates in the stress response? So what are the two different systems, you just need to list them, that the hypothalamus activates in the stress response that we experience? Okay. I'll hang out for a little bit. If any of you do have any questions, I hope you have a fantastic week. I know this is going to be confusing, but we'll make the best of it. Enjoy the Super Bowl on Sunday, right? Don't save the exam for Sunday during the Super Bowl. Go Rams, I think. I'm just excited for a stress-free game. I'm not invested in either team, so I just get to eat and drink and enjoy it. Water. I'm talking about water, of course. But I hope you all have a wonderful week. Take care of yourself. Stay healthy. And if there's anything that I can answer for you, I will hang out for a little while. Or, of course, you can always email me. So I'm going to minimize my video, but I will still be here for a little bit. I'm going to put this in the chat. Have a wonderful week. Thank you all for joining me on here. I look forward to seeing you and meeting you in person next week. That'll be wild. So I will see you all on Monday. I will see you, right? You know, this is usually the extra credit that I do, where I provide it with the exams. So we'll talk about that a little bit on Monday. But there's already been 10 points of it, which is more than I typically offer. So that's something that we'll have to kind of explore as we go along. And again, who knows, we might be we could always be back to virtual at any time as well. So we'll talk about that on Monday, and I'll give it some thought before then. All right. Yeah, no problem. And definitely get these points while they're here, and then we'll see what happens after that. All right. And I am still here. If any of you have any questions, I'm still here. All right, everyone. It looks pretty much like all of you are gone at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and close this up. If you think of any questions, feel free to email me. Good luck on the exam. See you all Monday morning. And email me if you think of anything that I can help you out with during the rest of the week.